Good evening and welcome to tonight's budget hearing. Our 2016-2017 budget is completed because of the hard work of a lot of different people, including our Board of Education and our Board Finance Committee, our administrators, all of our school staff, Mrs. Van Heusen and Mrs. Schaefer. So thank you to each and every one of you who were involved as part of that process. This evening, we are videotaping the budget hearing for the very first time so that it will be available to community members on a link on our website. This way, information can be shared with those folks who are not able to be here tonight, but who called and asked how they might find out information about the budget. So we're excited that the budget proposal will be presented. But I'd like to start tonight with a celebration. For the past 4 years, the school district has had an advocacy committee that has worked alongside other districts and other associations to advocate for the removal of the gap elimination adjustment. After 3 years of letter writing campaigns, visits to elected officials, and 3 successful rallies, as well as partnering with other school districts and other statewide associations, this year the state legislature voted to remove the GEA. And that's a big deal for our district, as well as all the districts in New York State. Our work, when added to the work of others, made a difference. So thank you to all the committee members, the board members, the faculty and staff members, the community members, and the students who worked diligently over the past 4 years, along with others, to help the GEA be gone. However, our work is not done, and our continued advocacy work will focus on the school funding formula. So we just want to take a moment to celebrate that. Here are some facts and figures of the proposed 2016-17 budget. The budget is a little over a 1% increase from this year. The tax levy is less than a 0.25% increase. Over the past 2 years, we have really refined our budget development process to examine our actual expenditures in each area and plan expenditures based on data. When we knew there may be new or additional expenditures, we have worked to analyze our prior expenditures and reallocate funds as necessary to address new or expanded expenditures, program initiatives, or other expenses. Here are a few highlights of the budget. Overall, our state aid increase was about 2% this year. While we received additional foundation aid, some of our enrollment-driven aids were reduced as our enrollment has declined. Specifically, enrollment-driven aids are technology and textbook aids. We have 2 funds that we will use this year, our Employee Retirement Reserve and our undesignated fund balance, that will help us balance the overall budget. As I mentioned in the previous slide, where we have new or expanded anticipated expenditures, we've really taken a look at where we spend our money, how we're allocating our resources, and where possible and where it was prudent and made sense, reallocated those resources. We've made those adjustments as necessary. And one of the things you'll see is that instruction and pupil transportation are 2 areas that have increased this year. We also have a set-aside fund as part of the state budget called Community Schools Aid. Community Schools Aid is a new funding stream this year. This money is earmarked by state ed to help schools become the center of the community for such services as health, dental, social services, before and or after school programs for students. We are still waiting for the regulations and the guidance on how to use this community school aid money. And when we have that guidance, we will be able then to determine how we will use the money. For now, however, we have set it aside in our budget. If you take a look at our state aid runs, or if you had taken a look at it prior to this evening, this community schools aid money is part of our total foundation aid allocations. In 2014, the voters of New York passed the Smart Schools Bond Act. To support technology acquisition and use in the district, we will begin accessing the funds, which for our district total a little over $1 million. There is an entirely separate process to use to access those funds. So we will begin implementing that process so that we can use that money. Mrs. Schaefer will now review the revenues and expenditures in a little bit more detail.
As a high-needs rural district, we are heavily dependent on state aid. Our budget is made up of almost 50% of state aid, which Mrs. Grimshaw said is about a 2% increase over last year, mostly due to the increase in foundation aid. Building aid is about 11%. Fund balance and use of reserves is about 5%. And our other big one is property taxes, which are almost 34% of our revenues. Our expenditures are made up of about 64% of instruction. Examples of instructions are all instructional staff, support staff, teaching supplies, sports. Our debt service is about 10% of our budget. This has declined slightly over this current school year because our debt, we've been paying it off. General support is about 18% of our budget. An example of general support is our operations and maintenance budget, our administration, and some computers. So touchy.
I think it is touchy.
Wow.
There.
Transportation is almost 8% of our budget. There's a slight increase this year in our transportation budget, mostly due to the fact that all of our buses are now on a 5-year lease. So we get new buses every 5 years. Well, new buses every year, and they last for 5 years. And then we have a little bit of interfund transfer, which is less than 1%. Okay, now. The rest of our budget is made up of the use of fund balance and the use of our Employee Retirement Reserve Fund. We plan on using our ERS reserve of $425,000 next year. And we also plan to use our fund balance of almost $600,000. Oh my gosh, what's going on here? I just won't touch this. Sorry. We plan on using fund balance of almost $600,000, which if we do that, then our fund balance will decrease slightly from about 7.5% to 7%.
It must be, I didn't even touch it.
I swear.
It's just the
Okay, now you can touch it.
No.
Our contingency budget will be $21,328,000. This is only $15,907 less than our proposed budget, which would mean that our tax increase would be 0 instead of the 0.23%. If the budget does not pass on May 17th, we have several options. The board could put up the same exact budget for a second vote. We could put up a revised budget for a second vote, or just go ahead and adopt that contingency budget of the $21,328,000. If we go straight to contingency, there are a couple things that change. There's no outside use of school facilities. There's limitations on equipment purchases and some non-essential maintenance. So back to Mrs. Grimshaw.
So to flesh out a little bit more about some of the expenditures that we are resourcing in this budget, we are certainly looking at including a social emotional skills program at East Hill School. We are looking to add a part-time family and consumer science teacher at the middle school. We are also looking to increase project-based learning at the middle school. To help our 9th graders transition successfully, even more successfully to the high school, we're looking at a redesigned 9th grade experience. We have additional materials and supplies as part of the budget to support innovation in learning or to support project-based learning or other new courses that are being offered. We are also looking to change our guidance software here at the high school to a guidance software package called Naviance. What Naviance offers students and families is not only course planning, but also career interest inventories and college search capabilities. It's a little bit of a one-stop shop for students and their families. We think it will enhance our students' knowledge of their own skills and strengths so that they can make better course selections and that they can better plan for their future, whether that be college or career. We also are looking to start a community education program. Earlier this year, we conducted a community-wide survey to gauge interest and to see if the community was interested in starting a community education program. We had great response for technology classes and healthy cooking classes. So included in this budget is some seed money to help get that started, and we'll see where it can grow from there. Up until this year, or as this year concludes, our Director of Special Education position that we have shared with Fort Plain will become a district-level position. Fort Plain informed us earlier this year that they were not interested in continuing the share. At a prior board meeting, the board was presented with several different options. We'll be expanding that position to include other instructional services that students require as well. I think of it as the educating the whole child position. It will include special education, other instructional services such as our nursing staff, our pupil personnel services staff, our English language learner students. We also have a need for additional assistance at the bus garage. Now, when I have something that I need to have happen to my car, somebody gets a check for them to do it for me. But what I have learned in the course of this year in working with our transportation personnel is that those buses that transport our students safely every day to and from school require a lot of work. They are a whole different machine than what we may have experienced, some of us growing up. And because of that, the maintenance is higher, the maintenance that's required on them, and that's the daily maintenance. As a lease, certainly if there are major things that go on with the buses, the vendor takes care of that. But there is regular maintenance that is required, and much like everything else, the Department of Transportation has increased significantly their requirements for inspections. And our buses are inspected on a rotating basis every 45 days. So there's a high need for some support there. We also will be getting a district app next year. As we take a look at our students and all of us in this technological world, we are looking for information that is current and that is real time, and that has been in the works for a little while, and we'll be rolling out a district app next year. Those are just some of the things that are supported in this budget that help support student learning and our overall operations. And just a reminder that our additional technology purchases will be obtained through our Smart Schools money. We also have a couple of other things on the ballot this year. There are 2 Board of Education seats up for election, and additionally, the board passed a policy this year that with voter approval would establish a non-voting student representative position on the Board of Education. We're very excited about this opportunity to have student involvement and an advisory capacity on the board. A couple of things about that as related to the policy. The student is a senior. The term is 1 year. And Ms. Gleason and I will recommend to the board the procedures for selecting an eligible student. And we'll be working with our student council to help establish those procedures. So we're very excited about that opportunity for one of our students to be involved in the process. There we go. At this time, our formal budget proposal presentation is complete. We'd be happy to entertain any questions from the audience. And as this is a public hearing, we would just ask that you state your name, speak loudly, so that it can be recorded in the minutes. If your questions cannot be answered this evening, it will be researched and you will be contacted directly with the